I'll never forget the shock of running into my husband at our best friend's baby shower. It seems Emily didn't know that John and I were married. But to think that John and Emily had a child together. Good for you two, looking so happy. Ah, I'm the only one left out of our happy trio. Emily, John, be happy no matter what. The Emily nods with a big smile, and John gives an awkward nod. I know all too well. John is the type of guy who says, pregnancy is not an illness, so don't be lazy, and he doesn't help with the pregnancy at all. I can't believe he cheated on me with our best friend of all people. That's just unforgivable. I decided to make John lose everything. My name is Lisa, and I'm a hairdresser in a small town. It's where I was born and raised, not as flashy as the city, but a comfortable place to live. That the sense of community is just right, and it's very cozy. John and I were high school classmates. Back then, Emily, John, and I were known as the inseparable trio in our circle, always together. Especially John and I, we were the class's official couple. Whenever someone asked, "Where's John now?" I could always tell them right away, and they'd often be teased, "You're gonna make a great wife someday." But Emily, the other member of our trio, was always listening to foreign music or the radio with her earphones, dreaming of going abroad. She was one of the top students in our class. True to her goals, Emily went on to study at a university abroad, and after graduating, we only kept in touch through texts a few times a year. After graduation, I went to cosmetology school and became a hairdresser. Since my family owned a salon, I started working there. John attended a local university and then joined his family's business. Actually, their company sells beauty products like shampoo. It turns out their business is sort of a business partner to my family's salon. That synergy was another reason why people teased us about our relationship. John is a quiet guy, not much of a talker, quite the opposite of me who's pretty chatty. But somehow we clicked, and our relationship from high school continued, leading us to naturally get married without any formal proposal. We bought a house in the city and started our new life in a spacious home. After a while, I got pregnant. I was so happy to be carrying John's baby, and that night I excitedly shared the news. "John, guess what? I'm pregnant." I was expecting John to be thrilled, but his reaction was underwhelming. "Oh, is that so?" he said, not looking up from his phone. "Thought you happy." Unsilently fiddled with his phone, searching for due dates and birth stories. "A baby's due next year, huh?" "The picture's out my box." I said, "Make sure you get your work done," John replied, still engrossed in his phone. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After all I had been through, this is the reaction I get. "Make sure you get your work wrapped up by then." Is that all? What else is there? Well, nothing, but I was honestly disappointed by John's attitude. But I soon faced a situation I couldn't ignore. The first pregnancy was tougher than I imagined. Anxiety. I had been working full-time, but sudden health issues and doctor's visits made it difficult. Reluctantly, I decided to start my maternity leave earlier than usual to focus on my health. But John didn't consider my feelings at all. He searched the typical maternity leave period on his phone and confronted me with it. Maternity leave is legally 6 weeks before birth, right? Aren't you taking it too early? My job is physically demanding, and everyone's health is different. Besides, my mom said she'd handled the salon. But pregnancy isn't an illness. Don't coddle yourself. If you're like this, I can't expect much from our kid, he said, even though it's his child too. If my kid isn't smart, something's wrong. You need to put in the effort too. If you turn into a lazy housewife, I'll divorce you right away. You've been slacking on the housework lately, haven't you? The meals are mediocre, and the house is a mess. I can't keep up with everything. I'm limited in what I can eat right now. But can't you at least make your own meals? But John always relied on me for housework. I grew up helping with the family business, so I've been doing housework since I was a kid. However, John's mom was diligent and never had him do any chores, growing up without learning them. It's the woman's job to take care of the house, she'd frequently say. While I admire her dedication, it left John clueless about even laundry. That was one of my secret frustrations. As I was pondering how to talk to John about this, I suddenly needed to use the bathroom. Only those who've been pregnant would understand, but I needed to go often during that time. Excuse me, I need the bathroom. Again? Are you sure you're not just old? When you're pregnant, you need to go more often. That's embarrassing. Lately, you're always complaining about your health, like living with a grandmother. John then started a long list of complaints, but I really needed to use the bathroom. Also, his remarks treating me like an elderly person under various pretexts were uncomfortable, and I wanted to leave the place immediately. I tried to leave, saying I need to use the bathroom, but he snapped, "I'm not done talking yet." Somehow I endured his long talk and barely made it to the bathroom in time. I could hear him muttering, "That's so uncool," behind me. When we first married, I was attracted to John's calm and unflappable nature, but since the pregnancy, it's been the opposite. He even compares me to various people online.
The celebrity got back to work right after birth and looked perfect. You'll do the same, right?
I don't know, don't compare me to such people.
You're both human, just try it. Don't disappoint me too much.
Apparently, John's expectations are ridiculously high. And he's all too willing to believe whatever he reads on the internet, regardless of its truth. Every time we meet, it leads to these kinds of conversations, creating a tense atmosphere between us. Just around the same time I became pregnant, John started spending less time at home. And our arguments, like the one I just mentioned, were part of the reason. But he also began going out at night and on weekends, claiming it was for work. This was something new in our life together. He's the opposite of the involved dads that are often talked about these days. One night when John came home late, I gathered my courage and asked him, "You've been busy with work lately, huh?" "I'm expanding our client base." Actors, it's none of your business. "You've been busy with work lately, huh?" "I'm expanding our client base. It's none of your business." "Have you been drinking?" "This is part of my job too." "Stop nagging." John's voice was loud enough to be heard next door. I could smell alcohol on his breath. "You never had to drink for work before. What's going on? That's something you wouldn't understand. Anyway, you You just laze around at home while I work every day? It's not worth it. We just laze around at home while I work every day. It's not worth it. That's Piperham. I'm not just lazing around. I'm pretty busy preparing for the birth. That's no excuse to neglect the housework. You hardly even put on makeup anymore, using the pregnancy as an excuse to let yourself go. It's harsh. I held back my tears and went to put John's bag on the shelf when something small fell to the floor with a clink. What's this? Wireless earbuds. I picked them up casually and looked at them closely. They were small earbuds, shaped like earrings. Still worn in a cute pink color. They had a design that seemed to appeal to women. Don't go through my bag. That's an invasion of privacy. But I always do this. Anyway, you don't usually use earbuds, John. But they're lost, shouldn't we return them? That's for me to worry about. You just focus on the housework. Why can't you even do that right? John's reaction was excessively intense just for pointing out a lost item. As I tried to say more, I felt a dull impact on my stomach. John had kicked me. Don't forget you're being provided for. If you keep meddling, I'll have to rethink things. I couldn't believe what had just happened. After John stormed off to his room, I sat on the floor in shock, replaying the recent events in my mind. I couldn't see how I had done anything to deserve being kicked. I couldn't understand John's reaction. The next day, I went to the hospital to check on the baby, pretending I had fallen at home as I couldn't admit to being kicked by my husband. Fortunately, the baby was fine, but the area where I was kicked was bruised and discolored. Then some good news came in. My best friend, Emily, had given birth. She had gone to university abroad and was working there, but it seemed she had returned to the States. I would have liked to take John with me to see her, keeping our trio together, but he was away on a business trip. So I went to congratulate her alone. In the bright sunlit hospital room, Emily lay in bed, looking relieved. When I entered, she managed to sit up to greet me. It's been a while. Congratulations on your baby. Thanks. Actually, I returned to the US about a year ago, but I couldn't get in touch. Sorry. I'm glad the baby arrived safely. Emily looked more sophisticated than when she was a student, like she had truly grown up. Next to her pillow, I noticed earbuds identical to the ones I found in John's bag the other day. She seemed to notice my gaze.
Oh, these. They're my favorite. I lost one a while back, but my boyfriend found it for me.
Really? What's your husband like?
We're not officially married yet. He's actually...
Her words were interrupted by a knock on the door. Up to my surprise, John walked into the room. I was speechless with shock.
You're surprised, right?
Actually, I'm dating John now.
She was innocently smiling in front of me.
Hey, welcome. It's been a long time, John said nonchalantly, heightening my confusion. Just a reunion of the old trio. After I came back to the US, I started seeing John again. We're planning to get married, but it's been hectic with all the paperwork. That's great. Actually, as you can see, I'm pregnant too, I said, feeling the urge to spill everything. But I calmed down a bit. I have a baby in my belly. I have to protect my baby and myself. I thought about the most effective way to handle this crisis. So I decided to keep things calm. My husband is on a business trip right now. I really wanted to bring him along today. But I wanted to meet your husband. He helps it all. I secretly glared at John, who awkwardly looked away. You two seem happy. I'm the only one left out of our happy trio. Emily, John, be happy no matter what. Emily nodded with a big smile, and John nodded awkwardly. Here, this is a gift for the baby. I heard bibs are always useful, so I bought some. I even got matching ones for my baby. That's adorable, thanks. You must be excited for your baby too, Lisa. But my baby is born. Let's all go out together. At the mention of all of us, John's shoulders twitched. I pretended not to notice and kept smiling. Can we take a picture? Emily, hold the baby, and John, get close. I took a picture of Emily holding the baby with John beside her. I left the room with a forced smile. Once outside, I realized I was breathing heavily and my shoulders were heaving. From behind the door, I could hear Emily's excited voice and John's low responses. After leaving the hospital, I hurried home and immediately contacted a real estate agent on my phone. Hello, I want to sell my house immediately. Yes, you can list it right now. I'll complete the paperwork quickly. And could you recommend a moving company? I arranged to sell the house and contracted a moving company recommended by the real estate agent. Next, I called John's family. Due to a sudden situation with John, I'll be sending his belongings over. There will be a lot, so don't be surprised. Yes, I decided to erase my life in that house as if it never existed. John said he would be on a business trip until tomorrow. He's probably planning to stay somewhere tonight. I wanted to send his things to his family's house immediately, but I didn't want to shock his mother. So I just informed her. After finishing these arrangements, I noticed missed calls from John. He'd been calling nonstop since I left the hospital. But I ignored them and slowly sipped my tea. Then a message came in. Let's talk, just the two of us. But what was there to discuss now? After he kicked me, I had grown wary of John. Bacon states, now that caution had turned into distrust, and honestly, I didn't even want to hear his voice. When I got home, I immediately started packing. I entered John's room and began filling boxes with his belongings. Luckily, it was the off-season for moving, so I could sign up for a plan where the movers helped with packing, making the shipping process smoother than expected. Now, all that was left was to send my stuff. When I called my parents, they rushed over and the move was completed right away. In John's room, I found something. An unfinished divorce form. It seemed John planned to leave me for Emily. Thinking it was an opportunity, I filled in the rest of the divorce form and kept it with me. Just then, I got a call from my mother-in-law, Lisa.
I heard some luggage was coming, but I didn't expect this much.
What happened? Well, John has been cheating. Do you remember Emily from high school? It seems they've had a child together. Good to start dating. I've always liked Emily since high school. You were just the convenient option. I was speechless at his selfish reasoning. Reconnecting with Emily, I realized she didn't think badly of me. There's no reason to stop us now. John had hidden our marriage from Emily. He thought about divorcing when Emily got pregnant, but then I got pregnant too. He lacked the courage to divorce or the resolve to remarry, so things dragged on. How can you be so selfish? Got you ashamed of juggling two women? Emily and Lisa are completely different. Reuniting with Emily made me realize I was unsatisfied with Lisa. I plan to remarry Emily and step up as a man. Ridiculous. I'm disappointed you're my son. Anne's mother's anger knew no bounds. If that's how you feel, we're cutting off our ties as a family. You're fired from the company too. Think from now on you'll have to fend for yourself. I don't care, but I had my doubts. Anne had only ever worked in our small family-run company. Could he really handle a different job? You don't understand a thing. The only reason you've been able to work until now is because of Lisa's beauty salon. Fun! Lisa's salon? That small town shop didn't have much to do with my performance. It's because Lisa's shop promoted our products that you could barely make any sales. You ungrateful ma'am? My parents, who had been silent during the exchange, declared that they would no longer do business with John's company. No problem. I'll start my own business. I'm still young and I can learn anything. Perhaps Emily will return to work soon after giving birth, so our new life will be secure. John turned to me with a pleading look. Lisa, I was wrong. Let's forget the past and raise our child together. I refuse to continue a marriage with such a scumbag. How could I forget your horrible treatment? I recalled the shock of seeing John in Emily's hospital room. Don't be stubborn. Your kindness is your best trait.
Lisa, I was wrong. Let's forget the past and raise our child together.
His face, with dried blood from his nose, looked pathetic. At people, I slowly shook my head. Just because things didn't work out with Emily doesn't mean you can come back to me. I said, but you'll struggle raising the child alone. What are you going to do? I have a profession, and I'm better off without a father like you. I'm not foolish enough to cling to a useless man. I had already discussed it with my parents, and they promised to support me fully. Thanks to our connections in customer service, we knew a good law firm too. I presented John with the divorce papers I found in his drawer. As you can see, the divorce papers are ready. All that's is to submit them to the office. Let's quickly settle the alimony and child support. I said, wait, I have to pay both you and Emily. I reminded him, of course, you're still legally my husband, Eleanor, but don't you dare neglect Emily's needs either. I warned him. The lawyer is ready.
He buried his head in his hands.
Just then, I felt an unfamiliar pain in my belly. But it hurts. I realized I was going into labor at that very moment. The meeting was immediately dissolved, and my parents rushed me to the nearest hospital. Everything happened so fast after that. Exhausted from the discussion in childbirth, I collapsed into bed at the hospital and slept soundly. Even when the nurses woke me up occasionally, I barely remember having my eyes open. Eventually, I was discharged and returned home with my baby, where I caught up with my parents. My mother, a beautician, had discreetly spread the word about John. Many of our clients are housewives. As just a few words from my mother grew into a full-fledged rumor that quickly spread throughout the town. John tried to start an online sales company, something he always liked. He'd always taken personal connections lightly and sought refuge in the internet. However, he couldn't match the power of word of mouth, struggling to find a bank to finance him due to the rumors. His business idea failed in the early stages. There was another thing that hit John hard. Actually, the video call with Emily. She had recorded the entire discussion using another camera. Esther edited John's selfish behavior into a short video and spread it among our high school classmates. As a result, John lost all his friends and anyone who might have helped him. He was left to solve everything alone. Kicked out of his family home, he ended up sleeping at motels. Using his savings, he looked for a new house and job. Despite being unemployed and without a fixed address, it was tough for him to find either. Eventually, he found it too difficult to stay in town and moved far away. John finally found a day labor job and struggled with the unfamiliar physical work. However, I couldn't let him off the hook. FC jury. I had warned him that if he ever missed a child support payment, I would press charges for the time he kicked my belly. I'd taken photos of my injuries and saved the hospital records, which would serve as significant evidence. I filed for divorce and became a single mother almost simultaneously with giving birth. Emily and I decided to live together in a spacious apartment. It's a 4-person household now, me, Emily, and our babies. The children get along like siblings. Emily and I, being best friends, have only grown closer since John left. We take turns looking after each other's babies, which allows us to work and have some personal time too. We're planning to make our park debut together once the kids are a bit bigger. For now, I'm enjoying this comfortable life. Hey, high school dropout, try greeting in French. Song, you can't do it because you're just a high school dropout, huh? My sister laughed and prompted me to introduce myself in French. She must think I'm barely competent in French because I'm just a high school graduate. I replied to her with a smile, "Got it. Leave it to me." Like ignoring my surprised sister, I began revealing her secrets in French. I'm Jessica Wood, 28 years old. Was born into a typical American white-collar family. I have a younger sister, Emily, 3 years my junior. My dad is a middle management executive, and my mom, now a part-timer, used to be a homemaker. Emily, unlike me, was cherished by our parents since she was little. Unable to attend college due to family circumstances, was determined to ensure her children went to college. However, as the eldest daughter, I wasn't academically inclined. By the time I reached the 3rd grade, my parents had given up on the idea of sending me to college. In contrast, Emily was smart and fairly pretty from a young age. So our parents doted on her, the more capable child. They sent her to a prestigious private middle school, while I attended the local public middle school. Emily, unlike me, was accepted into a prestigious private high school, but I ended up at a public high school known locally for its troubled students. They said, "You're just not cut out for academics. We'll let you finish high school, but after that, you're on your own." But after that, you're on your own. We're saving our money for Emily.
My mom said,
Ed just nodded in agreement. So after high school, I had to start working. but I had no idea what to do as everyone around me went off to college. Feeling lost, I managed to get a job at a delivery company, thanks to a recommendation from a high school teacher. They had a dormitory, so I decided to move out. That was supposed to be for Emily's sake, but she herself said, "I've always disliked you. You're dumb and ugly. I just wished you'd disappear. Thanks for leaving so soon." From feeling sorry, she was actually spiteful. I was so frustrated I cried, but I resolved to live on my own terms. Years passed and Emily graduated from Harvard and joined a well-known multinational trading company. Furious at Cleach, I hadn't returned home since leaving, but occasional messages and photos from Emily kept me somewhat updated on the family. At Tate's of Breitnitz, Dad was laid off due to poor company performance and now worked behind the scenes at a local supermarket. Mom continued working part-time. That Emily did offer some financial support, but mostly spent her money on spias and yoga classes, so Mom couldn't quit her job. One summer, Emily insisted I come home, so I did. For the first time in about 8 years. I didn't want to return at all. Arriving home, I said, "I'm back, I've got no response." As expected. So I just went in and found my parents and Emily.
You didn't have to come back. I'm being nice letting you in this house.
Be thankful to me. His hairline had receded noticeably.
Mom had aged as expected over the years. What no gifts?
You're still a disappointment. Seeing how much they changed, I felt the weight of my absence.
Still as ugly as ever, huh? Living in the countryside, eating nothing but potatoes, fits a clumsy sister like you. Anyway, why don't you sit over there?
I wanted to retort. You haven't changed either, but held back. I didn't want to tell her, but since it's a celebration, I thought I'd share. A celebration?
Exactly. And guess what? He's the president of a major French food import company, a foreigner living in France. He's a really nice guy.
He's going to take care of us, even building us a mansion in France after we marry. That cited being Emily's fiancé, who's doing everything. Dad said it with an air of importance. That's right. Who would have thought we'd be living in France? He said, "Good thing we put our hopes in Emily. If we'd relied on you, nothing would have come of it. This would not have happened like this." Mom also started laughing, her nostrils flaring wide. I guess they were overjoyed. But you know, this has nothing to do with you. However, if you pay your own way to France, we might let you stay cheaply. Emily laughed along with Mom. They don't realize that leaving America is the greatest happiness for me. That's all you wanted to say. You called me back just for this. What? Just say congrats. We're having a family gathering to celebrate and you have to show up. Is it okay for me to join? We have to, in front of the relatives. He put on a show of a happy family. I see, got it. It was expected, but hearing it face to face was infuriating. Emily works in a trading company, dealing with foreign food imports, and is fluent in French. And as I said before, I'm just a high school grad. Emily always looked down on me for it. I'm embarrassed to even mention I have a high school dropout sister. I wish you weren't part of our family. If you feel that way, go ahead. It's not that simple. That's why it's a hassle. I don't care. I've been on my own since high school. Your life is none of my business. Son, we're family, legally. I'll allow minimal interaction. Sure, let's do that. At least actors create. Anyway, once Emily marries, we're moving to France. You'll be on your own here in the States. Dad said, ever been overseas? No way. I don't even have a passport. Going abroad is great. I know because I've traveled a lot, both for work and leisure. Emily started bragging again. I've traveled the world, but France is special. Everything is picturesque, so foreign. Well, it's a foreign country, that's to be expected. Just overseas is nice, but Southeast Asia is a no. The places like Thailand or the Philippines are okay for tourism, but I hate seeing all the poor people in the countryside. Then why not pay more for their produce, help their economy? It's hard for them, no work at home, so they go abroad to earn. Living is tough for everyone, they're just the exception. Being my annoyance, Emily glared at me. You seem like you have something to say. People in Southeast Asia work hard too. Being work at my factory. So, you're just like them, working in a factory. Day with your kind. I'm a winner, you're a loser. I was close to tears. But soon she'll be gone from America. That thought comforted me. I'm back from home at work the next day. My colleague Maya noticed my gloom.
What's wrong, Jessica? You look down,
Maya, who's from Malaysia, works in the US to support her sister's education and family. She and her sister are my age. Maya struggles with reading and writing English, but speaks it fluently. Maya, I said sorry. Just some family stuff. Maya treats me like a sister, as her own sister and I are the same age. Maya is usually quiet and hardworking, well-liked at work because of her serious nature. One day, I received an email from Emily.
She said, I have to entertain a foreign buyer.
There are tourist spots near your workplace, perfect for the occasion. Can you arrange everything? At Shin, I didn't like her bossy attitude, but I didn't want to deal with the hassle of refusing. If it doesn't interfere with my work, I thought it'd be okay to help, so I told Emily that. It's on the appointed day. Emily arrived with the foreigner. He was younger than I expected, a handsome guy with beautiful blonde hair. Nice to meet you, he said. I'm William, born in the US, so I speak English pretty well. Relieved he spoke English, I was about to guide them in my car when Emily snapped. What's this, a compact car? I replied, yes, but is there a problem? It's disrespectful to put a guest in a car like this. I live alone in the countryside, so this size is convenient for me. If you don't like it, arrange something yourself. I thought but kept quiet to avoid trouble. William interrupted, saying, no, it's a cute car. I love compact cars. William surprised me by saying compact cars are a brilliant invention, especially popular mini trucks in France. Emily was displeased, but William seemed happy, so we left, ignoring her opinion. William shared a lot with me. His dad's relocation brought his family to the US where he was born. He studied in America in college, wanting to work related to the US, and now he's handling American affairs in his company. He talked a lot, mostly to me, which made Emily increasingly unhappy. When we arrived at the tourist spot, she said, I'll take over from here. Just grab some food and wait at the hotel. That's enough for today," she said dismissively. "Come pick us up at 8 a.m. Items temporal. Soon another email from Emily. "There's something to talk about. Come now." Knowing arguing would only make things worse, I reluctantly went to her. She lectured me, "Don't embarrass me, and don't flirt with William. Both accusations were baseless. Don't put my guest in a compact car. Rent a luxury car, it's common sense. And don't talk. He's too much to William. He's my guest and you're just a driver. Just drive and guide without extra chatter. You're not in a position to talk to William." So she said. I responded nonchalantly and tuned her out. It's hard to believe she's getting married. I felt sorry for her partner, wondering if he's like her. But it's none of my business. After her long lecture, I finally returned, and there was Maya.
Welcome back, Jessica. Are you late? Low trouble.
What happened? I'm just tired from talking to Emily. How about we have a drink in my room? I made some Malaysian dishes. Let's eat together.
Assimilation quasing.
Sounds delicious. I'd love to join. After having a light dinner with Maya in the room, I suddenly craved something sweet, so I went out to the convenience store. Arriving at the store and about to enter, I recognized a familiar face inside. It was my sister Emily, and next to her was a man I had never seen before. They seemed close, but could he be her fiancé? She said her fiancé was a foreigner, but this man looked definitely American. I knew Emily was here for business, but why was she with another man in such a place? As I pondered this and stopped, the two of them came out of the store and I quickly hid.
Are you sure I can trust you? Don't worry. Even if I get married, I plan to divorce soon, within a year, and return to America. Then I can live with you. I'll get money from the alimony and division of property. Everything is going according to plan.
I was shocked to hear Emily's words about her plan. That's clever of you, elite lady, to come up with such a scheme. It's your fault for making me feel this way.
Of the man named Takashi, who then silently pulled her chin and kissed her, not caring that they were outside.
I recorded their conversation on my smartphone camera, feeling like I had done a good job. I finished shopping at the convenience store and hurried back to the dorm. Even after returning, my heart was still racing from what I had seen. As time passed, I couldn't forget the shocking event. Then I received news about a family gathering to celebrate Emily's engagement. Honestly, I didn't want to go, but since it was a family event, I felt obligated to attend. My mother was very proud of Emily's engagement to a foreign company president. Emily's fiancé is a French company president. They plan to build a mansion in France after getting married, and then we're all going to live there together. Next year we'll be in France. My mother was more talkative than usual, perhaps due to the alcohol. Emily was also in a good mood, smiling broadly. He's the president of a company that does business with mine. I handled their account and got close to him, leading to the proposal. He said I was as beautiful as a doll. Emily's boastful talk seemed ridiculous to me. I was drinking alone at a distant seat, but Emily approached me.
Why are you sitting alone? You won't find a president, but maybe you'll manage to find a plain man. Well, we'll be living in France after getting married. We plan to sell the family home and move to France, so you'll have no home to return to. You should just live on your own. It's none of our concern. Feel free.
I don't need to be treated like family anymore. That sounds like sour grapes to me. Well, I'll live my life my way, so please stop interfering. That's my line. Don't expect anything from my wealthy husband just because we're family. Just make sure you don't end up divorcing quickly and returning to America. That's rude. Oh, did I hit a nerve? What are you talking about? The going to swear eternal love before God. I have that much feeling. Whatever you say sounds like a loser's howling. Our voices got louder, and we were eventually stopped by people around us, but Emily's panic suggested the previous conversation was true. Finally, Emily's fiancé was coming to America. On the day of the dinner, I headed to the designated hotel. As usual, my parents were unpleasant. The banquet was held in a private room of a traditional restaurant, with Emily and Jack already seated when we arrived. It was my first time meeting Jack. He seemed like a genuinely nice guy, 38 years old. Upon our entrance, Jack, with a friendly smile and somewhat awkward English, greeted, "Nice to meet you, I'm Jack." Emily then fluently introduced our parents in French. Before it was time to introduce me, Emily smirked unpleasantly and said, "Come on, high school grade. Greet him in French, will you?" Facing Emily's mocking, I smiled back and said, "Okay." After a brief cough, I began speaking in French. "Welcome to America, Mr. Jack. My name is Jessica, Emily's sister. I currently work at an American delivery company. For a company, Emily has been hiding a secret from you, which I will now explain." How can you speak French?" "Oh, a Malaysian colleague at my workplace taught me, might have a bit of an accent." 18 indeed. I had been learning French from Maya, although Malay is Malaysia's official language. Maya was also fluent in French. During breaks and days off, I learned French from Maya. I've always liked French, often watching movies and dramas, and now I use online videos to study. "I see you've studied, but what secret are you talking about? A past bullying? That's ancient history," Emily began to rant. "No, not old stories. This is recent." Jack looked puzzled as we spoke in English. Then I explained in French. "Sorry. What I want to discuss is how my sister is planning to use her marriage to you for her own gain." "Her own gain? What do you mean?" I asked with a puzzled expression. "First, please watch this video." I showed him the video on my smartphone. It was the scene of Emily kissing Kyle in front of the convenience store, which I had accidentally recorded. I translated the English conversation into French on the spot. This was recently filmed. The woman is my sister. Her face is hard to see, but the man is Kyle, a colleague from my sister's company. I knew that much from their conversation at the time. "What does this mean?" Jack's face turned stern. "Emily, what's this about? Explain. This is fake. I only love you." As Emily Jack, and I argued in French. Our parents were confused. "You claim this video is fake, but it's enough to make me distrust you. I will conduct further investigations." As I translated for our parents, they began to panic. "Emily, is what Jessica is saying true?" Isn't this just a lie Jessica made up for revenge? My mother tried to defend Emily. No, this is all true. Don't be deceived. Emily is just a high school graduate with bad conduct. We disown her for this disrespectful behavior. Save for any inconvenience. That's right. Jessica is just jealous of her beautiful and successful sister, trying to ruin this marriage. My father added. Of course, they were speaking English, which Jack couldn't understand. Come on, Jessica, explain properly to Jack. If they insist, I told Jack. My parents are claiming my story is not true. But there's no proof to show it's a lie. On the contrary, I have this video as evidence. Which testimony do you think is true? Jessica, let's go somewhere else and you can tell me more. Understood. With that, leaving behind my bewildered parents and wailing sister Emily, I stood up with Jack. Later, after hearing my story, Jack confronted Kyle and made him confess everything. Emily's engagement with Jack was called off due to her fault, and Jack demanded significant compensation from her and our parents. Emily, having caused trouble for her company's client and tarnishing its reputation, was fired. My parents had already sold our family home in anticipation of moving to France, but all the money went to Emily's compensation and damages. He says having quit their jobs in preparation for the move to France, my parents would struggle to find work and a new home. But that was no longer my concern. Fluent in French, Emily tried to get a job in another multinational trading company, but her previous misconduct was well known due to the industry's close connections, and no one would hire her. She had no choice but to work as a cleaner in a motel. And then, surprisingly, I ended up in a relationship with William. William, who'd come to America, started visiting me each time he was in the country, thanks to the help I had given him before. Recently, he even proposed to me. William, who loves America, has requested a transfer to the American branch, and we plan to live in the US after getting married. He's currently studying English intensely. When I told Maya about my engagement, she was delighted and gifted us a honeymoon trip to her homeland, Malaysia. Maya would be our guide and taxi, allowing us to tour the sites more affordably than with regular tours. Just with my upcoming marriage, I decided to quit my current job, but I intend to continue my friendship with Maya. Of my life as a high school graduate, which had its share of struggles, was about to embark on its second chapter. You're still slacking off on the housework, aren't you? I bet you're slacking off at work too. Why did I ever marry you? It's just one thing after another I have to put up with. Marrying you was a mistake. I've been saying this for a while now, but I've been busy with work for a few months, you know? So it's not like I'm slacking on the housework. It's just that I literally can't manage everything. I get that you're busy too, but wouldn't it be nice if you helped out a little around the house? What? You want to divide the housework? How busy can your job be? That's exactly what I mean by slacking off. You're hopeless. I'm done. I want a divorce. A divorce? Just like that. Don't you think that's jumping to conclusions? How about we try to talk it out and meet each other? Outright meet each other halfway. There's no need for that. It's clear as day you're just holding me back. Someone who wants to share housework is useless. A divorce is then in order? Oh, maybe you're not serious about work or housework because you're having an affair. How can you say such a thing? I'm not slacking off at work or at home. But my husband just assumes I am. He also looks down on my job, thinking he's more valued at his company. And to top it off, he's falsely accusing me of infidelity. Okay, I had been gradually getting angry at my husband's words, but when he threw the word affair at me, my anger just fizzled out in disbelief. I was so dumbfounded by my husband's ridiculousness that I agreed to the divorce in a flat voice. I had something surprising to tell him, but now it doesn't seem necessary. He'll find out soon enough. I didn't realize it yet, but this decision was a turning point, leading to my husband getting bombarded with calls from the police a month later. I'm Helen. I'm 39, working in the administrative department of a company that manufactures and maintains industrial machinery used in factories. I joined the company as a salesperson, but was transferred about 5 years ago. Though I felt a bit let down about not being able to use my sales skills anymore, our administrative department also handles accounting, HR, and legal matters. I often interact with people outside the company, so my sales skills do come in handy. Also, my job has broadened, allowing me to learn various skills, which I find fulfilling as someone who's been career-focused. However, as a trade-off for being so work-oriented, my love life has been non-existent. The last time I had a boyfriend was in my sophomore year of college, a distant memory now. I thought trying to get married now would be as absurd as trying to be a chef without ever holding a knife. So I had given up on marriage and was okay with it. What changed 3 years ago? I'll be working in the sales department. Nice to meet you. That's when my husband, David, joined my company. He stood tall with a confident and clear greeting, giving off a serious, athletic vibe. Bertilk, though David is only 2 years younger than me, he has a youthful face. At that time, I had a good impression of him, but purely in a professional sense. Having left romantic feelings far behind, I didn't care much about looks or personality. My focus was on whether someone was competent at work. So Helen, you've been in sales all along, right? If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I think I can help with quite a few things. Really? That would be great. I'll also benefit from your help. Voice with an invoice in one hand, and David carrying a box full of brochures. We headed to my desk. Being new, David often got tasked with errands. And since I was in charge of managing supplies and events in the admin department, we ended up working together quite a bit. Much as we got near my desk, David carefully set down the heavy box, then said something that took me by surprise. Helen, you're good at your job. You're kind and you're beautiful. You must be popular, right? Huh. It must have been just small talk for him. But having long forgotten that I'm a woman, I didn't know how to react to his compliment and ended up blushing and stumbling over my words. Not just beautiful, but you also have such an adorable reaction. Not get too cocky just because you're new here. I racked my brain desperately and managed to come up with a response that clearly seemed like an embarrassed cover-up. Maybe it would have been better if I hadn't said anything at all. Seeing my face turn even redder and a light sweat forming on my forehead, David laughed. Some might think it was rude for a junior to act this way towards a senior. But my interactions with David reignited romantic feelings I had long forgotten, and as he got to know me, he developed a fondness for me. Eventually, we started going out for meals after work and spending time together on weekends, which led to us dating. 3 years later, we got married. For me, who had almost given up on marriage just before turning 40, this was a significant turning point. However, it turned out to be a turn for the worse, not the better. I continued working after marriage. We worked in different departments, but at the same workplace. Since we worked together, I could see how David performed and heard about his reputation from others. "Hey, can you check the materials for the client visiting tomorrow? Let me see. This figure is wrong. Where did you get this from? Actually, also, you should change the order of these headings. It doesn't flow well when explaining. Each full of mistakes again. Sorry, but could you fix them? I'll leave the file in the shared folder." Despite my refusal, David ignored my words and left. Sighing, I moved the file from the shared folder to my local drive. Petit plan, no matter how much I protested, David kept dumping tasks on me. It was the usual routine. Since we're married, David often relies on me at work for various things. His work is always sloppy because he assumes I'll handle it. His documents are full of errors, and if I don't manage his schedule, he sometimes forgets meetings and deliveries with clients. I'm his role, but if I don't take care of him, it causes problems for the company and our clients. I pushed my work aside on my desk and started correcting David's document. "Aren't you done with work yet? Whose fault do you think that is? Sorry, but you know spouses are supposed to help each other, right? I'll go home first." Leaving early, David made me stay late because of the extra workload. He apologized, but it was clear his words weren't heartfelt. "Welcome home. You're late. Free up and make dinner." This was proof of his lack of sincerity. David, who had dumped work on me and gone home first, couldn't possibly have cooked dinner. After taking a shower, he enjoyed beer and snacks while watching TV, waiting for me to prepare dinner. I've repeatedly addressed the issues with work and household responsibilities, but it seems nothing gets through to him. He just says, "Sorry, I'll be careful," but nothing changes. It was only been half a year since we got married, but my patience is already wearing thin. I blame myself for underestimating the difference between dating and marriage, but surely David's lack of cooperation is excessive. I guess it's also my fault for helping him with work and silently cooking dinner. I know this can't go on. Watching David laugh and drink beer in front of the TV, I decide to be strict with him at work and stop helping him with his tasks. However, the next day, I ended up interacting with David as usual at work. It's not that I'm weak-hearted or unable to be firm with him, but to discuss this reason, I unusually came home from work earlier than David and quietly waited for him to return. "I'm home. I'm starving. Get dinner ready." Hearing David's cheerful voice from the entrance, I felt a bit puzzled. But as long as he's happy, that's fine. I set up the dinner table with a meal that took longer than usual to prepare. "Today, you got the notice, didn't you? Yeah, I'm being transferred to a subsidiary company. They say they need to bolster their sales team, and apparently I'm the man for the job. The sales director said it's a shame to let me go, and apparently I'm the man for the job. The sales director said it's a shame to let me go, but it's for the greater good of the company. So David, are you okay with that? They're making sure my salary stays the same, and the new office is commutable from here, so no problem, right? Oh, but yeah, changing environments is tough. I might have to relearn some aspects of the job, and I've been given the task of improving the sales force at the subsidiary. Work might get harder from now on. Being relied upon like this is tough. David seems in good spirits and enjoys his dinner heartily. It looks like he's not too concerned about changing workplaces. That's fine by me. This with him, at a different workplace, he can no longer rely on me. I quietly continue preparing dinner. After moving to the new job, David starts coming home late because of his significant mission to boost the subsidiary's sales force. Is it because he is fulfilling his role? His language even sounds more professional now. The current company is more about maintaining the status quo than sales. The president, maybe due to his age, isn't keen on trying new things. The employees are too accustomed to their routine work. Really? Indeed, to survive in these times, it's essential to constantly try new things. But maybe the president is considering the risks. If something goes wrong, it could be bad for the company and the employees. It seems you don't get it. That's why you're not trusted with important roles like me. So making quick decisions and leading employees is the president's role, right? There's a rumor that the current president will be replaced soon, so the parent company shares my view. David, who talks excitedly about his work after returning home, gets so caught up in his conversation that he stops eating. It's only been about a month since he transferred to the subsidiary, but he already seems to think the place can't function without him. Having confidence isn't bad, but in David's case, it seems a bit misguided. His attitude has grown increasingly arrogant, and although he used to rely on me and be all sweet when we were at the parent company, now he's become quite critical. By the way, we ran out of shampoo yesterday and there wasn't a replacement. Sorry, I haven't bought it yet. Use mine for now. What? You still haven't bought it? You've been slacking off lately, right? But to the other day, you came home later than me, and we had to order takeout or just heat up ready-made food. Hey, my work has gotten busier, you know. You don't have big, responsible tasks. If you think you're busy, it's because you're inefficient. Don't use that as an excuse to slack off at home. Just waiting for the right moment will make it easier for him to realize his mistake. I silently resume eating. Buttery from then on, I let David's words slide, preparing to surprise him later. Is with me, not fighting back. His attitude grows even larger. It must be nice, you know, just doing what you're told. My job is tough because I have to handle everything myself. Plus, I'm under enormous pressure to deliver results.
It's not just about doing what I'm told. I have to think strategically and make important decisions every day. As a key player in sales and the face of the company, appearances matter, right?
Yes, I did. Let him underestimate me for now. He'll have to apologize to me properly later. I find satisfaction in that thought. As long as he's just using words, it's okay, but I'm a bit worried about something. Kay, is that a new watch? You bought a new suit recently too, right? If I wear cheap watches or suits, clients won't take me seriously. Well, as long as you're spending your own money, just don't come crying to me later when you're out of cash. Like I do that, I'm expected to excel in sales. Don't worry, my salary is only going to increase. David flaunts his brand new, shiny watch with pride. I can't help but feel envious of his carefree attitude. His spending isn't limited to watches and clothes. He started eating out more often, rarely having meals at home, and he goes out alone on weekends. Even if his salary does increase as he says, I only give him a small allowance now. I'm worried he'll run out of money and come crying to me later. Plus, since he's dining out, he comes home later than before. Plus, on weekends, he leaves in the morning and doesn't return until late at night. David says he's dining with clients or going out for work-related socializing, but with all the classic signs of infidelity, it's hard not to be suspicious. Can't you come home a bit earlier? I think time as a couple is important. My late return is because of work. I'm not like you, sitting at a desk all day. My job is essential for improving the company's image. Well, you probably wouldn't understand the importance of what I do, but surely is whenever I probe a little about his work or why he's coming home late, David always yells. He's bad at keeping secrets, which makes me wonder how he manages sales. I have no proof, but I'm convinced he's up to something shady. That's why for the past month or so, his condescending remarks have been really getting on my nerves. You're still slacking off on the housework, aren't you? I'm not slacking off on housework. You're slacking off at work too, right? That's why you're inefficient. I'm not slacking off at work. Burying you was a mistake. I've been the one putting up with everything for these 10 months of marriage. And if anything, I'm still doing it. But I agree that the marriage was a mistake. However, deciding on divorce less than a year into marriage seems too hasty. We should at least look for ways to meet halfway. I've been saying for a while that my job has gotten busier these past few months, right? So it's not that I'm slacking off on housework. It's just that I really can't manage everything. I understand you're busy with work, David, but wouldn't it be nice if you helped out a little at home? What? You want to share housework? What's so busy about your job? That's what I mean by slacking off. You're hopeless. I want a divorce. A divorce, just like that. Shouldn't we try to talk and compromise first? No need for that. It's clear to me you're just dragging me down. Someone who wants to share housework is useless. Perforce it is. Oh, maybe you're not serious about housework or your job because you're having an affair. How can you say such a thing? I want to believe this isn't real, covering my eyes and shaking my head side to side 3 times. I'd been slowly getting angry at David's words, but when he accused me of infidelity, I was so dumbfounded that my anger just fizzled out. Okay, victorious, the Persidy and David was ridiculously foolish. I agreed to the divorce in a deflated tone. There's no need to tell him the surprising thing I was keeping quiet about. He'll find out soon enough. Just unbeknownst to me at the time, this decision would turn out to be a positive turning point. The divorce from David went smoothly. Since our marriage didn't even last a year, I've decided to seal away the memory and act as if it never happened. The only thing I regret is jumping at the chance to marry just before turning 40. Now, I've thrown away romantic feelings again and returned to being career-focused. A month after the divorce, I was thriving at work. Just as I was gearing up to keep pushing forward, a call from my ex-husband David cuts into my motivation. Dang, that's Kevin calling me non-stop. And when I finally answered, they said they wanted to talk and told me to come to the station. Did you do something?
Yeah, I contacted the police, but more as the company did.
What? The company? Don't lie. I've never seen you at the company, and there's no way someone like you could become a president. I wish he would stop subtly insulting me. I've experience in sales and have acquired various skills in administrative roles, including accounting, HR, and legal matters. It's shocking to be dismissed as incompetent so arbitrarily. True, the title of president does feel a bit heavy for me. But the subsidiary company I'm now heading is entirely owned by the parent company, so the power balance heavily favors the parent company. As the president, my position is actually below that of department heads at the parent company. When you think about it like that, it's not so far-fetched, right? So all that talk about being busy was, of course, because I was busy transitioning to the subsidiary. But I never saw you at the company. That's because I've been making sure not to show myself for this past month to uncover your misdeeds. Misdeeds? You knew from the start. Yes, exactly, from the day I became president. David was told by the sales director at the parent company to improve the sales force at the subsidiary. However, given his reputation within the company, it was clear that it was just a polite way of getting rid of him. Right about him, I was shocked that David took these words seriously. A salesperson who can only understand things at face value deserves to be sidelined. David, under the misconception that he was sent to the subsidiary because he was valued, seems to have been looking down on everyone there. Having been on the receiving end of his condescending attitude, I can understand how annoying it must have been. Listen, for the record, the previous president did not step down due to incompetence, but simply retired due to age. Moreover, David's skills did not improve while at the parent company. His behavior remained the same, often arriving late, giving wrong orders confidently, and returning just before closing time. Given his unchanged work performance and poor attitude, it's natural for employees to seek help from higher-ups. You've been quite tyrannical at the company, I heard. Everyone was troubled and came to me for help right after my greeting on the first day. No one knew we were married, so they openly complained about some arrogant salesperson from the parent company. You thought just because you're important you could do whatever you wanted, right? What? A greeting? You did that without me knowing. It wasn't a secret. I went to work normally for my first day greeting. But you came late and missed the morning assembly. Right after that greeting, employees came to me with complaints about you. They suspected embezzlement and possibly an affair. So I decided to investigate without revealing myself. I knew your banking details and usual routes. Being your wife, I thought it was better to stay hidden to prevent you from hiding evidence. But not seeing each other at the company for a month is strange. Your pattern was too simple. Coming to work late in the morning, returning just before closing time, and then going home. Since you were hardly ever at the company, I just had to hide in the president's office when you were around. So, you've been secretly investigating my embezzlement for a month. Exactly. Ertel in serial perils, though the previous president had almost completed the investigation, I just took over and finalized some procedures. As the conversation progresses, David's voice becomes fainter, almost disappearing. He must be mortified, having acted arrogantly under the false belief that he was valued. Moreover, realizing that his embezzlement has been uncovered and that the police are already involved, he understands he can't escape. David falls silent, and I can hear someone taking an order in the background. Seems like he's still skipping work somewhere. The police are involved, so everything's been uncovered, right? Yes, that's right. I have evidence of how you ignored company rules to receive cash payments from clients and embezzled that money. I also know about your affair. She's a young woman in her early 20s from accounting, right? She's an accomplice, isn't she? Lots of falsified documents have surfaced. The total damage is about $100,000, right? You spent it with your affair partner, buying watches, dining out extravagantly. David goes silent again. But it's not just the police he should worry about. He's probably imagining what will happen after he goes to the police. You seem preoccupied with the embezzlement, but don't forget about the affair. You were occasionally having fun with your mistress at the office, right? It was honestly disgusting. Disgusting? It sounds like you saw it happen. Or I didn't want to see it, but I had to check a bit of the footage for evidence of the affair. In footage? That's ridiculous. We always made sure to be out of the camera's view. It sounds like you saw it happen. I didn't want to see it, but I had to check a bit of the footage for evidence of the affair. Everyone knew you always did it in the camera's blind spot. That's why I slightly adjusted the camera angle. I have evidence of the affair. Police. Altair. The police's summons is voluntary, but ignoring it will only worsen your situation. Go and face it. And about your mistress, I hear she's been looking unwell lately. Is she pregnant? There are rumors, you know. Is that why you suddenly pushed for our divorce, because she got pregnant? Arrest, affair, alimony, work, child, pregnancy. I can't see him, but it sounds like David is breaking down over the phone. He's mumbling incoherently, almost as if he's chanting a spell. I'm getting goosebumps. It's kind of frightening. It's time to end this conversation. Is there anything else you want to say? If not, I have work to do, so I'm hanging Sam. Wait, you're the president, right? Do something. Prevent me from getting arrested by the police. Forgive me, please. You can handle all of this, right? Help me.
David suddenly raised his voice, causing a sharp pain in my ear.
He must be in some public place, drawing attention with his loud voice. Regardless, he's too desperate to care about the stairs and is pleading with me. But no amount of pleading can excuse what he's done. I decided to hang up and return to my work. David was found guilty of embezzling about $100,000, resulting in a business embezzlement charge. He received a 2-year prison sentence. His mistress, also complicit, received the same sentence. The rumors about her pregnancy were true. It seems my suspicion that David rushed our divorce because she was pregnant was correct. Since she ended up in prison while still pregnant, it has been confirmed that she will give birth while in prison. They can give birth without any problems while in prison. She's set to give birth while incarcerated, which means the baby will likely be cared for by relatives or foster parents after birth. Being separated from a newborn and missing its early years is heartbreaking for any parent. They'll both be out of prison soon enough, but a difficult life awaits them. They can't be fired for the affair or causing trouble at the company. However, committing a crime like business embezzlement makes it easy to justify dismissal. About your stations. Now, jobless upon release, they'll face a tough job market, especially with a criminal record and a dishonorable discharge. It's hard to find a job these days. It must be very difficult to find work after being dismissed or labeled as a criminal. I'll be pursuing civil damages for the embezzled amount plus alimony, totaling around $160,000. I'm not sure if I'll get the full amount, but I'm asking for the same figure David demanded from me for infidelity, just to add insult to injury. Even if I don't get the full amount, the mistress's pregnancy might warrant a significant settlement. So they'll have to struggle finding a job while suddenly bearing a debt of over $100,000 plus additional alimony. With no savings left after their spending spree, this will be a severe burden, especially with a child on the way. It's their own doing, so they'll have to work hard and accept their responsibility. Their responsibilities. As for me, I've successfully purged the company of its toxicity. The workplace environment has improved significantly since David's departure. Employees seem happier and more energetic at work. My next goal is to boost company performance. I'm back to being fully dedicated to my work and living a fulfilling life. My name is Hannah. I've been married for 2 years, but we haven't had any babies. My husband, a surgeon at a general hospital, consoled me, suggesting it might be a matter of timing or stress. I thought I was incredibly lucky to have such a kind man as my husband. However, I was abruptly disabused of this notion. Shockingly, I discovered that my husband was having an affair with my sister Anna. Anna is pregnant, so we need to break up. Anna? My sister? Yeah, he said casually, without any sign of remorse, and without a word of apology to me. Why? Because you can't have kids. A woman who can't have children is defective. But I thought it was about timing. Anna got pregnant right away. That means you and I are not compatible. There's no point in trying with a woman who's not compatible. That room for argument, he had me agree to divorce. 3 years later, here I am, unexpectedly facing my ex-husband Sam at a spa resort. It's not like I wanted to meet him. But as if by a twist of fate, Sam showed up with Anna. Hey, long time no see. I was visibly nervous and sweating. I hadn't seen Sam or Anna since then. Actually, I had been careful to visit my parents only when I knew my sister and her husband weren't there. But despite my efforts to keep my distance, here they were. So, you're here too. Funny how you run into people you don't want to see. I stayed silent, kitchen, though I had so much I wanted to say. I never forgot the betrayal. But when it came down to it, I couldn't find the words. But aren't you still unmarried? I heard from Mom. Still hung up on Sam? That's creepy. Pining over someone else's husband. Yeah, it's really creepy to be obsessed with someone for so long. Sam joined in, laughing. Anna's belly was noticeably pregnant. Baby? Yeah, I'm pregnant. Something you'll never experience. What about the baby you mentioned before? That one unfortunately miscarried. So it would have been beautiful too, like us. Definitely, if it looked like me or Anna. Sure, if it were your child, as long as it didn't look like Sam, it would definitely be ugly. Her face is a created beauty. It was altered by numerous cosmetic surgeries. Since high school. She was artificially beautiful. I can't tell you how many times she's done this before, and her face looks like a different person, and it certainly has changed beautifully. Sam, also handsome, confidently asserted that their child would undoubtedly be beautiful. Divorcing you was definitely the right decision. A beautiful child, a doctor husband. I got everything I wanted. But isn't a doctor's salary not that high? The doctors I know earn quite a lot. Shut up. I can't help it. I'm an employee at a general hospital, and it's a salaried position. Still better than factory work. Soon, he'll start his own practice and make a lot more. Don't come asking us for help then. I wondered why they brought up factory work, because I'm a factory office worker. Even when we were married, Sam often belittled my job. Now knowing the reality, I started to doubt whether Sam was really a doctor. You'll never remarry a doctor, or anyone for that matter. Ugly as you are, other than marrying a doctor, I'm pretty sure she won't be able to remarry at all. Oh, that's right. But no matter how much you want to get rich, it means you can't do it. Right. As ugly as you are, you're unlikely to remarry. I have a child and a doctor husband. I'm so happy. Funny how life turns out so differently for sisters. Is that so? You think you'll be happy? Traveling alone to a resort. Not even with a man. Well, it can't be helped. You're only good for a fling. But don't go hanging yourself. Having such an ugly sister is the worst. I'd be lucky if you just went to the other world. Are you serious? Of course. Better off without a sister who's hung up on someone else's husband. You're the worst. You're the worst. I'm also relieved to have broken up with an ugly person like you, but now that you've become my sister-in-law, I'm wondering why I can't cut ties with you. They kept mocking my appearance, laughing heartily. Then a tall man stood beside me. What's going on? Hey, what's this? She's really with some random guy. Even if you're desperate picking a guy like this old man, you could have chosen better, Hannah. Just because he looks rich doesn't mean you should give in so easily. And you, how can you even play around with such an ugly girl? Who are these people? This is my ex-husband and now brother-in-law Sam. And that's my sister Anna. What? introducing your fling to us? You're probably just playing with this guy too. It doesn't matter who we are to him. I'm her fiancé, Jason Smith. What fiancé? No way with this old man. Even if you're desperate marrying this old guy, he's probably just pretending to be rich, a low-income guy. Sam and Anna ridiculed my fiancé, Jason Smith, calling him an old man. But he's only 40 years old. Anna, do you really think you can marry someone like this? You must have settled because no one else would have you. So these are the two who betrayed someone as beautiful as you. Foolish? Who are you calling foolish? Are you blind? Do you even know who I am? Huh? How? What do you mean who you are? You're more foolish for being with someone ugly like Hannah. You're a doctor, right? I work at a general hospital. That would be Smith General Hospital, right? What department? I'm a surgeon. Lots of patients want me to operate on them. It was hard even to get today off. Impressive. Your name is Sam, right? What about it? Well, it's just that there's no Dr. Sam in the surgery department at our hospital. We do have a male nurse named Sam, though. What? Who do you think you are? Actually, my fiancé, Jason Smith, is the director of the hospital where Sam works. If Sam were truly a doctor at that hospital, he would know Jason by name. However, Sam didn't recognize the name and didn't seem to understand from his behavior. You wouldn't understand, would you? Just a lowly factory worker. How would you know the doctors at Smith General Hospital? Plus, or have you been admitted to surgery before? Admitted? It's troubling that you don't recognize my name. We might have to rethink having staff like you. Wait a minute. How dare this lowly factory worker speak to a doctor like Sam? Stop insulting my husband. I'm not trying to insult him. I'm just stating what I think. Anna, you've been acting all high and mighty, but you're just a fool for wanting to marry someone like Hannah. How can you be with such an ugly girl? You should be with someone as beautiful as me. You'll regret it. Don't be ridiculous. Or a low-income old man. Like you could never get a beauty like her. I see. But your husband chose to marry her, didn't he? Why did he choose Hannah? That's obvious. It was just a fling. But he realized I was better. I see. So he prefers someone whose face and heart are both ugly. What did you say? Oops, I just spoke my mind. Our aunt's apologies. He laughed, covering his mouth with his fist, but Anna and Sam were furious. Don't shout. Are you mocking my wife? If you say something, expect a response. What a guy. Well, if you make fun of me for wanting to marry Hannah, you're making fun of your own husband. Do you realize that? That's why I'm telling you. Choosing such a woman was a matter of youthful inclination. Sam is smart enough to become a doctor, so he immediately realized it was a mistake. I see. That's a great excuse. Really? You're seriously marrying this man, Hannah? Yes, he's a wonderful man. He must be as stupid as you look. What's good about a man who insults others? Oh, money and a bad personality. Don't get too cocky. If Hannah marries me, we'll be your brother-in-law and sister-in-law. It'll make things awkward for you. Trail. But I don't mind. What? Anna, unable to control her anger, continued to insult him. It was sounding like a child scolding an adult. but I decided to change the topic to the upcoming baby. Anna is having a baby. Congratulations. Hope the baby grows up well. Yes, really. What about the first child? She miscarried. That's sad. A lost life is always tragic. It must have been hard for Anna. What? No, it wasn't. It was a weak life to begin with. No point in mourning something that wasn't meant to be. The future's what matters. I see a unique perspective. Oh no! I can have as many children as I want, unlike you, Hannah. Losing one or two doesn't bother me at all. You're taking life lightly. Even if you marry this guy, Hannah, you can't expect to have children. No matter how much you want them, you can't have them. That must be it. That's just speculation. At your age, you probably have issues too. That thing, you won't be the only one blamed. Children aren't the only bond in a marriage. That's easy to say now. Once you're married, you'll want kids. Look at me, I'm pregnant again. Can't wait to see what kind of child I'll have. Yeah, I wonder what kind of child it will be. That with all that surgery, the baby won't look like you, Anna. What? What are you talking about? Of course the baby will look like me. Even if not, if it looks like Sam, it'll definitely be good looking. I doubt that. With all that surgery, neither of you will have a good-looking child. How dare you? I haven't had any surgery. What makes you think that? You're not even a doctor. No, Anna, you've had surgery. Your eyes, nose, and even your mouth are smaller. You've changed your jawline a lot, too. Why change so much that you lose your original face?
I haven't had any surgery.
Anna, you've had surgery.
No, I haven't had any surgery.
I married you because you were beautiful. If you've had surgery, does that mean our child will be ugly? I haven't had any surgery. I married you because you are beautiful. If you've had surgery, does that mean our child will be ugly? Why believe this guy? He's not a doctor. You're not lying to me, are you? Of course not. Anna was frantic, desperately denying it. But what was she planning to do? If this is a lie, I won't forgive you. Don't worry, it doesn't have to look like just us. Anna pointed at me and Sam seemed convinced. I thought it was foolish, but they were both so obsessed with beauty. Jason's bombshell didn't stop there. Sam, you've had quite a bit of surgery yourself. Yep, you've had as much surgery as Anna. Impressive. What are you talking about? Where have I had surgery? Well, your eyes, nose, and you've sharpened your jawline. You've changed so much you can't recognize your original form. That's impossible. I was shocked. I had never heard that Sam had surgery. Sam, you've had surgery? What did you look like before? That's not true. I haven't had any surgery. Why believe this guy? He's not a doctor. But Anna stopped, apparently thinking that if Jason had guessed her surgery correctly, he must be right about Sam too. No matter how much you change your face, you can't change your personality. People who focus only on looks end up losing what's truly important. That's why they let go of someone as cute as Hannah. But for those who don't understand true beauty, they're a perfect match. Don't act like you know everything. How could you possibly know we've had surgery? You're just guessing. That's right, you can't know. Unless you're a plastic surgeon, you can't tell. Exactly. A non-doctor wouldn't know. But you can't fool my eyes. What? How can you say you can't be fooled? You must be very confident. Or are you saying you're a doctor? Exactly. I'm a doctor, a plastic surgery specialist. What if I'm a plastic surgeon? I can tell by looking at your faces that you've had surgery. No way! You're kidding. Butcher, are you two doing maintenance? It's starting to fall apart. That's concerning. Lies. Well, maintenance costs money for both of you. It must be tough. You said you hadn't had surgery. You've been deceiving me. Can't wait to see the child. If it looks like Anna, it'll be as cute as Hannah. But if it looks like Sam, I wonder. That's why I chose someone beautiful. He too had surgery. That's the same for me. I wanted a beautiful child. As you are now, your faces will keep deteriorating. Vet maintenance is necessary, but at Smith General Hospital's plastic surgery department, we do maintenance. I can do it for you, but I won't give you a family discount. We don't want anything to do with you. I never wanted you as a brother-in-law. That's right. Just because we're married, I don't consider you a brother-in-law. That's right. Then there's no need for me to hold back. Good, you're fired. What? What are you talking about? Are you crazy? I'll admit you're a doctor, but you don't have the right to fire me. Really? Even if I'm Jason Smith, the director of Smith General Hospital, you think I don't have that right? What? Surprised, huh? I mentioned my name earlier. Name? I'm sure Jason Smith. Jason Smith, that's right. Jason Smith is the director of this hospital. Can't believe you don't know the name of the director of the hospital where you work. Are you that foolish? Nurse Sam. What? Nurse? You're a nurse, not a surgeon, right? I've heard about you. You're a heartless nurse, that's certainly true. Your attitude towards patients is terrible. This conversation made it all clear. So that's why your salary was so low for a doctor. You made surprisingly little. You used to say it's still better than factory work. Sure, that's true. But better than working in a factory, especially since you don't do night or late shifts. But it's true, the salary is much lower than a doctor's. That's why you earn so little. You always told me you were a doctor, not just a hired worker, so it's natural to earn that much. You said that. Victory lies about surgery and being a doctor. Now everything falls apart. What could I do? You said you wouldn't marry me if I wasn't a doctor. Doctor, I had no choice but to pretend. Are you blaming me? Yes, because you're always showing off. Act quiet, thinking we'd become in-laws, but now I don't want to be related. Hannah, I'm sorry, but I can't associate with these people after we're married. Is that okay? Of course. I don't want anything to do with them either. Great. So, I have no hesitation in firing you. Please, director, don't fire me. Why now? You've been mocking my partner. It's only natural to be fired. I tolerated you because I thought you were her relative. But now you've said you don't want any relationship. I didn't know you were the director. I told you from the start. Didn't you understand who I am? I never imagined the director. How could you work without knowing that? But firing me, that's harsh. Working at a general hospital is a big deal. Yes, please. At least let me stay working there. What do you mean? and being a doctor at a general hospital is highly regarded by other moms. How foolish. It's the same wherever you work. Even if it's factory work, you're contributing to society. That's not true. Factory work won't get me praise from other moms. What will I do when my child is born? Being a doctor matters among other moms. That's worthless. Better fix your personality and face first. That is if you have the money. Yes, I need money. You're always about money. She's not poor, you know. That's because she's marrying the director of Smith General Hospital. She's not poor. No, it's not about money. It's about her heart. She cares for others, understands their perspective. That's what brings wealth. That's not true. Ugly people don't attract rich people. That's why you attracted a fake rich man like Sam. But I'm attracted to Hannah's heart. Her heart makes her face shine. I'd spend a fortune on her, but I wouldn't spend a cent on you, Sam. Okay, please don't fire me. Hannah, ask him too. If I'm fired, I'll be an unemployed brother-in-law. How embarrassing. No, I don't care about you. You said I'm still hung up on you. That's not true at all. Exactly, Hannah. Well said. Thank you. Lies. That can't be. My face is loved by everyone. Let's go. As Jason led me away, I could hear them arguing. It's all your fault. You tricked me with your lies and surgery. Ellie, you're ugly and so are you. I thought how foolish they were, and was grateful to have found my true love. The trip to the spa was blissful, but hell awaited my sister and her husband upon their return. The reason was that Sam was indeed fired, just as Jason had stated. Despite Sam's tearful pleas for mercy, Jason had him ousted from the hospital. Hissing Auntie at Sam for lying about being a doctor and undergoing plastic surgery, Anna, who had become jobless that very day, asked him for a divorce. She returned to our parents' house, but after being scolded and called foolish by our parents, she stormed out in anger. Anna, choosing the path of a single mother, secretly gave birth. However, after the birth, she needed money desperately. Since the baby was Sam's, she demanded child support. Despite Sam's initial resistance, Anna led him to promise to pay child support. However, Sam struggled to make payments, leaving him no money for facial maintenance. As his only source of confidence, his face deteriorated. Sam, unable to bear his disfigured appearance, lost the will to work. Purportedly, he now lives in a shabby apartment, surrounded by garbage, hugging his knees. Meanwhile, Anna, unable to afford facial maintenance due to child rearing, works night shifts in building cleaning, wearing a large mask as she dislikes jobs involving social interactions. On the other hand, I married Jason in a grand wedding, celebrated by the hospital staff, and am now thoroughly enjoying happiness. Adding to my joy, I am currently 7 months pregnant, eagerly awaiting the arrival of our baby, living a fulfilling life. Thank you, always. This is about Emily, who receives a homemade lunchbox and briskly heads to work. I noticed she forgot something and hurried after her. In the park, I witnessed a shocking scene. It was unforgivable. How could they deceive us like this? I decided to show them. Vowing revenge, I set a plan against her. My name is Barbara Smith. The sexum of 50-year-old housewife. I work as a massage therapist, mainly focusing on full-body massages, and run a home salon. Since my first husband passed away early, I've been living alone. Then I remarried my current husband, Robert. He first came as a client and became a regular.
Baba, your massages make my head and shoulders feel incredibly light.
I used to suffer from migraines. Suffers from migraines, but they stopped since he started coming here. He's truly grateful. I only spent time at home, so I spent most weeks just with Emily. A tough, important season, now that we were a family, I was determined to build a relationship with her, even when Robert wasn't around. But Emily was busy with work in her life, rarely at home. It's kind of lonely. The housemaids lessened the daytime loneliness, but nights were different. They usually left by 5 p.m., leaving me alone in our huge house. Barely did Emily or Robert join me for dinner. But Emily has felt lonely because of me, so I'm happy you, Barbara, came to our home. Robert often said before we got married that he was worried about leaving Emily alone at night. Our condo has a concierge, so safety wasn't a big concern. But still, it's natural to worry about leaving a young woman alone at home. Determined not to let her feel lonely again, I married Robert Betts. Emily is an adult now. She's successfully navigating life as a working professional. Just in these thoughts while eating, I heard the front door open. So, I'm home, she said, when I went to check. Emily looked exhausted returning home. Welcome back. You're late. Tough day at work? I asked. Your bath is ready. She thanked me and entered the living room, reaching for the dinner I prepared. Just a little snack, she said, savoring the meal. She praised my cooking. I always wanted to cook, no matter how busy. Asking the housemaids to let me do it, it was the only way I could connect with Emily. I'll leave your lunchbox in the kitchen. Today's was great. Thanks from my colleagues are always envious. Her face always comforted me, making me think she was genuinely happy. But unaware of the hidden ugly emotions beneath her smile. The bath was ready. You must be tired, I said gently to Emily, who seemed about to doze off on the sofa after dinner. She sleepily responded and staggered towards the bathroom. Over an hour passed since she started her bath. Worried she might have fallen asleep in the tub, I decided to check on her. Entering the changing room and about to call out to Emily in the bathroom, my eyes landed on her cell phone lying on the washing machine. It was a text. I involuntarily read the message and quickly covered my mouth. Thanks for always coming to see me. Looking forward to the surprise for my birthday next month. Look at Emily. Can't wait. Quickly covering my mouth. I felt uneasy about what I had just read. It seemed like a thank you text from a boyfriend or someone she's dating, but the way the birthday and surprise were mentioned seemed off. Expecting a surprise isn't that pressure for a loved one, is it? Ace, and his name is not a normal name. It sounded like a pseudonym used by someone in the night scene. A bad feeling crossed my mind as I wondered what to do. Oops, I fell asleep in the bath. I heard Emily wake up and hurry out of the tub. I quickly turned to the sink, pretending to look for something.
Barbara, what's up?
I said, as I realized I was still naked.
Looks like we're out of hand soap, so I came to get a refill.
Although I tried to act calm, my heart was pounding, wondering if Emily noticed I had seen the text.
She didn't seem suspicious and just smiled, saying, "I see."
If that text was indeed from someone in the nightlife business, how was she affording it? Emily works in an administrative role, earning about $3,500 a month. Therefore, it seemed unlikely that she had enough money to frequently visit nightclubs to lavish on men. Yet the text from that man earlier distinctly mentioned Ace. It seemed unlikely she could afford such expenses on her salary. Just around this time, an incident occurred. The Bert, who usually couldn't come home often, started returning home 3 times a week. But the workload eased a bit, but actually, there's been an embezzlement issue at my company. Shocking, but true. There was an embezzlement scandal at the company where Emily worked. The perpetrator hadn't been identified, but the stolen amount was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Rumor had it someone in accounting was responsible. This news made me more anxious about Emily. The sign of Robert began coming home more. Emily also spent more time at home. "Don't overwork yourself, Dad," she said. The most important thing is that the culprit gets caught. Emily is seen as the top candidate for promotion at the company, Robert had told me. That despite making her feel lonely, she's grown up to be such an accomplished young woman. I'm proud of her as a parent. The thought that such a well-raised daughter could be embezzling company funds and visiting nightclubs, that's unthinkable. There must be some mistake. I'm probably just overthinking it. Yet, the words assailed from that man's email linger in my mind and won't go away. Because with the amount of embezzlement in the hundreds of thousands, it's possible to lavish plenty on a man and indeed become an 8-8. But would someone really send such a text to a significant other? Should I talk to Robert about this? My mind is a mess, and several days have passed. It's on my day off while I was making Emily's lunch. Our housemaid, who has been with us for nearly 20 years and is trusted by both Emily and Robert, noticed my worried look and approached me.
Ma'am, are you okay?
"You look pale," she said. "Ma'am, are you okay?" "You look pale. I can take over the preparations for today if you need." This woman has been our housemaid for nearly 20 years and is trusted by both Emily and Robert. She's quick-witted, calm, and makes swift judgments, truly a sharp-minded person. After Emily and Robert had left, I approached her to discuss my concerns. She willingly agreed, and after they had gone, we sat in the living room, and I shared the events of the past few days and my thoughts with her.
Actually, I too thought Miss Emily's behavior was odd. She started suspecting something was amiss about 6 months ago. Emily dislikes alcohol and smoking, while Robert is fond of both. However, due to Emily's strong aversion, Robert stopped smoking at home and has been living a smoke-free lifestyle at home for about 10 years. But about 6 months ago, I occasionally started noticing the smell of smoke on Miss Emily's clothes. Of course, there were guesses like work-related socializing or a boyfriend who smokes, so it didn't seem odd at first. But then one night, after finishing her work, the housemaid was walking through a bar district, having been invited out by a friend.
They decided to treat themselves at a slightly expensive sushi restaurant. That's when I saw her. Miss Emily entered the restaurant, closely linked arm in arm with a flashy, flamboyant man. The restaurant was high-end, often refusing first-time visitors. Being such a couple, who looked like the epitome of a foolish pair, the housemaid was taken aback. That to the man next to her was dressed in flashy designer clothes, a suit, but didn't seem like someone with an ordinary job. But it's not my place to comment on whom Miss Emily chooses to date. After that, the two disappeared into the bar district. The housemaid and I agreed that the man from the email might have been the same man she saw that night, leading us to decide to discuss it with Robert. That night, Emily had informed us she would be late due to overtime and dinner with friends. Robert had returned home, providing a perfect opportunity to talk. I shared with him about the email, the conversation with the housemaid, and the embezzlement issue. He turned pale and was visibly shaken. "No, it can't be Emily," he exclaimed. Yet he couldn't completely deny it, as there were rumors at her workplace. There's talk among many employees that Emily might be involved romantically with the executive director. Oddly, there were dark rumors surrounding the executive director, who had been involved in financial misappropriation. Recently, she's been displaying signs of newfound wealth, raising suspicions among colleagues. She's involved in accounting, which is the perfect position for someone to embezzle, as Robert noted. But despite it being about his daughter, Robert was able to consider the situation calmly, which I found remarkable. If I had been hit with such news, it would have taken me a long time to believe it. But Robert was likely using various means to gather evidence to deny it, not wanting to believe it himself. However, it often happens that the more you search for evidence, the more you find confirming your fears. My conversation with him seemed to shift his doubts to conviction. "Please don't mention this to Emily. It involves the company too. He'll set up a committee to gather evidence of the executive director's embezzlement and consider involving the police." "Understood," I replied, though Robert's face was pale despite his attempt to remain composed. He mentioned that the executive director was nearing retirement age. It's nauseating to imagine our daughter in a relationship with someone much older, practically grandfather-aged. I left the company matters to Robert, but the issue at hand was Emily, who seems to be caught up with a man. However, without resolution in Robert's company affairs, there's little we can do. Even if the executive director gets caught and Emily loses her patron, I worried that she might turn to Robert's bank account next. Actually, afterwards, I stumbled upon her in her room, talking on the phone with someone. It was likely that man she was speaking to. "Your birthday? I'll definitely make you number one. Make sure we have an after party." He's hearing her conversation. I panicked internally, feeling urgent to pull her away from that world. As I pondered what to do, the next morning arrived. Unbeknownst to me, Emily had returned home and casually came to the kitchen. Today's lunch looks delicious. I'm looking forward to lunchtime. Lately, she's been leaving for work 30 minutes earlier than usual. Apparently, because the project she's working on is nearing completion. Don't push yourself too hard. I selects in pain in my heart. But despite her seemingly carefree smile. Thanks as always. I'll be off then, she said, oblivious to my turmoil, and left cheerfully for work with her lunchbox. However, I was startled when I glanced at the living room table. She had forgotten her important employee badge. I must take it to her, I thought, rushing after her. Approached a park, I saw Emily with a homeless man who was prostrating himself. Emily? What on earth is she doing there? At first glance, one might think a dear daughter would stop and help, but Emily just smiled and walked away with the man, chatting as if they were old friends. I think my dear daughter is in danger, entangled with a homeless man, but the situation seemed off. The man was tearfully rubbing his head on the ground, reaching out to her as if begging for alms. Emily, on the other hand, was taking out her lunchbox with a sinister smile, looking down on the man. Not understanding the situation, I decided to watch from the shadows. Please, I'm begging you. Just the usual. You're disgusting. Really vile. Go on, say it like you always do. You want a handout, don't you? Merciful Miss Emily, please bestow your charity on this filthy old man. But the sight of the man crying, shaking, yet unable to live without begging, pained my heart. It was shocking that the entire scene of her speaking those words and making the man do such things was unbelievable. This is just hilarious. You existing only as a nuisance are at least useful for my stress relief. Here's your charity. In the next moment, I couldn't believe what I was seeing because of what she did. Emily opened her lunchbox and started dropping its contents into an old man's hands. It's better to recycle this way than to just throw it away in the trash. We get some charity, and I get to dispose of my garbage effectively. Plus, it's a stress reliever for me. Three birds with one stone. It's environmentally friendly. The words spilling from her mouth were like sharp blades, piercing my heart. Thanks for always making delicious lunches. It's were all of Emily's kind words just a lie. I love Barbara's cooking the best. Were those words just to play with my feelings? I couldn't believe anything about her anymore, and in an instant, hatred welled up inside me. Listen up, old man. There's this new woman in our house. Well, she's become my mom. Just because I complimented her a bit, she got all excited and started trying hard in cooking. It's so creepy. It's in with her around. Dad's money will decrease and she's just a nuisance. I wonder if there's a good way to get rid of her. Being Emily's creepy smile, a dark emotion was born inside me. Unforgivable, but to think of me and Robert like that. But to mock people and treat them that way, I couldn't forgive anything about her. At that moment, I decided to show Emily hell and immediately started taking action. A few days later, it's rare for Dad and Barbara to have something to talk to me about. Let it be, are you finally going to tell me I'm getting a brother or sister? She must think we don't know anything. But with a nonchalant attitude, Emily spoke those words, and both Robert and I gave her a cold look. We're sorry, but it's not such good news. What's wrong, Dad? You look so serious. Is it about the business? This from Robert's tone and expression, she must have realized that this was no ordinary situation. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Emily let slip what she thought might be the bad news. BBR by Cherry. Yeah, let's start there, Robert said. Actually, in these past few days, we caught the vice president embezzling company funds, and the police acted immediately. The vice president, who had been using online banking to access company money, was arrested and sentenced to 6 years in prison. At that time, the vice president mentioned that he was transferring a large sum of money every month to a certain woman as an allowance. The moment she heard this, a look of disturbance appeared on Emily's face. Vice presidents can do terrible things, huh? Emily said. That to the person who received the embezzled money might not have known it was illegal. Barbier Emily was right. If she hadn't known the money was embezzled, she wouldn't be liable for embezzlement. BR, and we had no way to prove that she knew. But it was easy to prove where that embezzled money was spent. Barbury hearing this, Emily's demeanor suddenly changed. Her eyes narrowed sharply, seeing us as enemies, and she crossed her arms and legs, creating a dominant atmosphere. BR, bore. We've tracked where the vice president was transferring the money and contained evidence of where it was spent. Barbary, it was being sent to your account, Emily. Robert said. BR, even hearing this, she showed no sign of disturbance. BR, Jai. She quickly denied it with a snort, laughing off Robert's words and speaking dismissively. BR, stop joking, she said. For sure. I had a close relationship with the vice president. BR, but I didn't know it was company money and there's no evidence to prove it. BR, perp. Bari. It's on the security cameras of the nightclub you frequent, he said. Bray. The moment she heard nightclub, all the color drained from Emily's face. She must have thought it impossible for us to know about that. We got the police involved in the embezzlement case and asked for cooperation from the nightclub you've been frequenting. But they were more than willing to help. Thanks to that, we got some solid evidence. And here it is. Quote, Robert powered up his laptop and showed a shocking video to Emily. She was speechless at what she saw. Quote, Emily, thanks for always being so generous. Quote, Robert said, Bert. Quote, but you're just an employee, right? Quote, are you sure you can afford to spend so much? I hope I'm not making you stretch your finances. Quote, quote. Not at all, Buck.
A quote, for my favorite guy, it's worth it. Quote, I just have to sleep with some old guy and earn a little extra cash. Quote,
so don't worry about it, Bart A.
A quote, you're selling your body? Quote, well, it's not just for you. BRB.
The guy's our company's vice president, Bart.
He's been dipping into the company's funds, and since it's my dad's company, it's basically an allowance from him. BRB.
The problem there,
Flirting with the vice president might even help my career, killing 2 birds with 1 stone or maybe even more.
So don't worry, I'm fine. Her confession was undeniable proof that she knew about the embezzlement, implicating Emily as an accomplice. But that was just a joke, and whether that money was actually transferred into your account, just show us all your bank statements. Though she tried to remain defiant, it was obvious that this would be the response. Anyone could see that. But Emily was visibly shaken. Robert relentlessly cornered her, leaving her on the edge, in a situation with no escape. It's simple. If you claim you knew nothing about the embezzlement, just prove it. Show us the bank statements for the account where the vice president supposedly transferred the money. If there's no record of those transactions, you'll be cleared. Seeing Robert's unyielding stance, even towards family, pained me. He values family more than anyone. It must have been incredibly hard for him to say and do these things. Yet, he steeled his heart and confronted Emily. My heart felt like it was tearing apart thinking about his feelings.
Help me.
It's not true.
I really didn't know.
I had no idea that was the company's money. Emily, on the verge of tears, ran to my feet and clung to me. She must think I would protect her, persuade Robert given our past relationship. But I showed her a video saved on my phone. Is there a good way to get rid of her? The video showed Emily mocking a homeless man in the park, turning her face pale. Actually, that day, I noticed you left your employee behind. I hurried after you to return it and stumbled upon this scene. After you left, I even talked to this man. The man had started encountering troubles about a month ago. He told me about seeing Emily throwing away her lunch in the park and speaking to her. His legs were bad, and after being laid off, he ended up homeless, living in this park. Relative to Samsi, he was about to die of hunger when he first met her and had since been keeping her in good spirits to receive lunches. I couldn't believe it, out my own daughter, treating someone so terribly. Terribly, moreover, Emily had been physically abusing the man when in a bad mood.
It's not true. I'm not the bad one. It's Dad's fault for making me feel lonely. Well, Emily, unaccustomed to being scolded, tried to deflect the blame with unbelievable excuses.
My anger reached its peak at her words. Enough is enough. I raised my voice suddenly, startling Emily into staggering backward. Do you have any idea how much Robert has been thinking about you, how hard he's been working for you? He even asked the housekeepers to make sure you weren't lonely without a mother. He knew you were wasting money but tolerated it, thinking it might ease your loneliness. Plus, all this time, she'd been biting the hand that feeds her. Don't you feel the least bit ashamed? If she were a little child, maybe her reasoning could be understood. But I couldn't forgive her for using it as a shield and refusing to accept responsibility for her actions. It's time to stop taking adults for granted. This is clean up your own mess. No one else will help you. Hearing my outburst, she seemed to resign herself to her fate. Emily was then taken away by the police. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison for crimes involving stolen goods and harming a homeless man. She also had a debt of several $100,000 at the nightclub, which she'll likely have to repay after her release. Of course, Robert wouldn't cover her debt, and Emily herself intended to work in the nightlife industry after release to pay it off. But she probably couldn't come to terms with it easily. During a visit, she begged Robert, clinging to him and wanting to return home. I will support him ever do something like this again. Please, Emily pleaded with us, crying. But Robert, hard-hearted, disowned her. At the same time, he declared that the entire inheritance would go to me. That visit was the last time we saw Emily. Peace eventually returned to a peaceful state for Robert and me. The company stabilized, and Robert spent significantly more time at home than before. Quiz, when I become chairman and have more leisure time, I'd like to travel together. Come to think of it, we never had a honeymoon, did we? I'd love to spend our later years traveling the world with you. We've been so busy. I want to enjoy our remaining years with the person I cherish most. Sipping coffee made by our housekeeper in the garden, Robert and I spent our time happily together.